Nuzlocks. You've probably heard of them, even if you've never done one yourself. Self-imposed rules while playing through a game designed for children to make it stimulating enough for a grown adult to find enjoyment in their otherwise boring lives. Jesus Christ, dude, that was a bit much, that was a bit real. Anyway, there's many variations, but for this time, I'll just be using the basic rules because this is actually the first time I'm doing this. Yep, I've been playing Pokemon for 20 years on easy mode. It's time to step it up a bit. My Pokemon journey began in Johto a few decades back, so I figured, why not make it the home of my first foray into Nuzlocke? And boy, what a mistake that was. But why exactly that is will be shown in due time, my dear child. Anyone who's watched our other videos on my channel will be thinking, hold up, didn't he already start posting his Soul Silver Nuzlocke? And you're right, I did. But those videos, honestly, kind of suck. They're long and full of filler, and I wanted to make a video that was more concise, enjoyable to watch, and told the entire story in one go. Also, let's be honest, you're all only here to see the encounters, main battles, and deaths anyway. That's the fun part of a Nuzlocke after all. So, without further ado, I am Peak Ginge. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the video, and let's Nuzlocke, baby. Our journey begins as any other Johto journey does in New Barktown. Heading straight to Professor Elm, we use the last digit of our trainer ID to choose our starter. 4 means fire starter, so Bonfire the Cyndaquil was our first Pokemon. Mum gave us a phone and we set off on our adventure. Operating under the rules that a Nuzlocke doesn't start until you acquire some Pokeballs, we murdered some Pidgeys and Weedles on the way to visit Mr. Pokemon and Professor Oak. They gave us a mystery egg and a Pokedex, and we received a frantic call from Professor Elm who had just been robbed. Tragic, I know. Heading back to New Bark, we had a run-in with the rival, or as the game calls him, Passerby Boy? Never noticed this before. Making quick work of his Totodile, we made it back to Professor Elm in one piece. Snitched on the rival to the cops, told them his name was P. Ginge, and had Ethan give us some Pokeballs and tell us how to catch Pokemon. Cheers, Ethan. What a legend. And with that, our Nuzlocke had officially begun. Our first encounter was moments later, when we found a level 2 Pidgey, who was successfully caught and named Pidgechamp. We then went north to Route 46 for a quick second encounter, praying for a Geodude, and sure enough, we got a Spearow. Unfortunate. We did of course still catch it and named him Sid. Our party was now 3 members strong, just like that. After briefly trying to raid the houses of Cherry Grove City to little avail, we continued on to Route 30 for our next encounter, which was actually a Kakuna. Cool, I thought. Better stats than a Weedle, easier to level, less chance of dying, but nope. Wild caught Kakunas, you see, only no harder, no poison sting. We caught him nonetheless and named him Barry. It was at this point I decided to grind for a bit. We had Pidgey and Spearow both at level 2, and figured now was as good a time as any with all these Kakunas around. Everyone got some levels happening, and then, as with any good grinding session in a Nuzlocke, tragedy struck. Sid the Spearow, you see, had a run-in with a particularly beefy Pidgey, who attacked him with a tackle, landed the crit, and Sid met an untimely demise. Not a great start. But hey, I'm not a big Spearow and Fearow fan anyway, so it's fine. It's fine. Really, I'm good. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. After we discarded Sid's corpse, we continued a bit of grinding with less casualties this time around and made our way to our next encounter. Dupe's Claws was in effect, so it was guaranteed to be Bellsprout. We caught her, named her Nepenthes, which is a scientific name for a pitcher plant. Yes, I know, my names are all over the place. It is what it is. Our next stop was Dark Cave. Here we hoped once more to get ourselves a Geodude. And sure enough, this time a dude was had. And that dude was named Chad. Next stop, Violet City, where our first gym battle with Faulkner awaited us. But before that, the new members of the party needed some levels. A needlessly long session of grinding later, and we were ready for the gym. We burst through the door, eager to face our destiny, and were promptly stopped as I was reminded we needed to take on Sprout Tower first. So we steamrolled through Sprout Tower, found out there were encounters in there, which I had no idea about, so we got ourselves a Rattata, whom we named Remy. Oh, and Bonfire also evolved into Quilava, because he was a touch over-leveled from me forgetting about Sprout Tower, and him being the best option for all of these Bellsprouts. Now it was time for the gym. We blew through the gym trainers and challenged Faulkner to a duel. Chad made quick work of his Pidgey and he sent out his ace, Pidgeotto, which, for the record, is illegal, thank you very much. Pidgey doesn't actually evolve into Pidgeotto until level 18, but anyway, moving along. The Pidgeotto landed 2 gust crits in a row when we missed a rock throw, so that was a bit yikes, I'll admit, but between Chad and Bonfire, we made quick work of it. With Faulkner down, we had 1 badge and only 7 to go. Our journey continued south to Route 32, where we came across an Ekans as our next encounter. And not just any Ekans, an Ekans with Intimidate. Poggers. We caught him, named him Sneck, and then realized it was only level 4. Yikes. It was at this point that it was beginning to become apparent how messed up the leveling curve is in Johto. We just defeated the level 13 Pidgeotto, and yet we were still encountering level 4 Pokemon in the following route. We boxed our Bellsprout and Kakuna for the time being in favour of leveling our Ekans and hatching our mystery egg. We continued south, battled many trainers, and hatched our mysterious egg into a Togepi. I then realised this is Gen 4 and that Fairy didn't exist yet, and wondered why I bothered because it was level 1. Then it was on to Union Cave. Our encounter within was a Zubat, something that would prove to be quite useful later in the run, and we promptly named her Zamzazabear. Route 33 presented us with a Hoppip, who we named Magikarp and promptly threw it in the box where it would remain till the end of its days. Onwards to Azalea Town. We threw ourselves down a well, apprehended some criminals for beating up an old man, did some light grinding, and then it was gym time again, baby. A bug-type gym seemed pretty straightforward. Decimate everything with Chad and Bonfire, Geodude and Quilava. I went in cocky and confident and was about to be put in my place. You see, the gym trainers were pretty easy, no issues there. Then we challenged Bugsy. You see, it's commonplace for gym leaders to have an ace, that is to say a particular Pokemon that is their signature and strongest team member. But what is not commonplace is them sending it out first, as it's usually reserved for when the gym leader needs it most. Bugsy, on the other hand, spits in the face of tradition and does what he wants. I sent out Bonfire, and Bugsy sent out Scyther. What? My plan to switch into Chad before Scyther came out was already out the window. Now, the thing about Scyther is that for this stage of the game, it's pretty damn strong. Boasting a stat total of 500 with over 100 in both attack and speed, I was scared. I hit it with a quick Ember to gauge damage, but I wasn't even hitting for half health. And it managed to get off a focus energy, and that was not good. I switched to Chad, who took a quick attack pretty well. I thought it all was good, and then came the U-turn crit. Now Chad, he's got a lot of defense, but not that much defense. This one hurt. I'd quickly grown attached to Chad, and whilst he would have never become a golem, he was a valuable member of the team. And it only got worse from here. If I was using hardcore Nuzlocke rules, this would have easily been a wipe and a reset. Not wanting to lose my Quilava, I switched into Pidgey, who was immediately one-shot by a quick attack critical hit. I needed to heal up Quilava if I was going to have any chance of winning this. So, with a heavy heart, I sent out Remy as a sacrificial lamb, and he did not last long. But he did buy us the time we needed to finally take down Scyther using Quilava. We cleaned up the Kakuna and the Metapod, and the battle was won, but at a great cost. Losing 3 Pokemon in one fight was certainly less than ideal, but the show must go on. With the bodies disposed of, we got to work constructing a new team to get ready for the upcoming rival battle. I realised I completely forgot an encounter in the well, so we went back and caught a Slowpoke, and named her Susan. After some grinding, our plan was to beat the rival Zubat with Quilava, his Ghastly with a bite from Ekans, and his Croconaw with our newly evolved Weepinbell, and this time, the plan went smoothly. Onwards to Ilex Forest. We scored the Headbutt TM from the Headbutt guy and realised we could get an encounter in Azalea Town using it. So we went back, smacked a tree, and sure enough, got the rarest but also the best possible encounter. Heracross. This was big. Heracross, like Scyther, has a base stat total of 500, with huge attack. We caught it, named it Nadrid after a friend in chat, and made our way to Goldenrod City. Not much of note here, we snagged a Pryce and a Drowsy, and before I knew it, we were there, in the domain of the Run Killer. Whitney's Miltank. Still shell-shocked from the encounter with Bugsy, I wasn't leaving anything to chance. We traded our newly caught Drowsy for Muscle the Machop, trained up the squad, and promptly wiped the floor with Whitney using Heracross alone. Turns out Heracross is pretty good. From here we headed north, evolved Ekans into Arbok, caught ourselves a Nidoran male, and stumbled upon a Vulpix for the following encounter. I was pretty excited with this encounter. I think Ninetales is pretty cool. What I didn't know though is Vulpix has Roar. Found that out the hard way. Following our first failed encounter, we continued on to Sotawoodo. And since I didn't really know the rules surrounding static encounters in Nuzlocke, I caught it. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, considering I failed the Vulpix on that route, but it's done now. We named Sotawoodo Harrelson and continued on our way. We swung by Violet City to grab a Magikarp, which we named Hoppip, and made our way towards Ecruteak City, where we promptly failed a second Vulpix on the next route for the same reason. was a sad day indeed. Once in Ecruteak, we made our way to the Burn Tower, quickly dispatched our rival, caught a coughing, then it was time for the 4th gym. And well, we'll gloss over this a little bit, because Morty is not terribly hard. He's got a Ghastly, a Haunter, another Haunter, and a Gengar. All we did was use Smack the Arbok to crunch our way to victory, which worked a treat. The 4th badge was ours. Halfway there. 4 to go. With Magikarp just begging to be evolved, I decided it was time to grind using the Stantlers to the south of Ecruteak City. And sure enough, whilst grinding, we came across this little guy. A 1 in 8,192 chance Shiny Pidgey graced us with his presence, and since I ain't no hardcore guy just yet, Shiny Claws was in full effect. And we caught it, naming it Row. We evolved Magikarp into Gyarados and even encountered Raikou one time, which was pretty exciting. Onwards west of Ecruteak, our next encounter was a Meowth and then a Farfetch'd, which I completely forgot was an encounter and murdered. We backtracked to get Eevee, which we forgot in Goldenrod City, found out it was level 5 and boxed it for eternity. We evolved Zubat into Golbat, blasted through the lighthouse in Olivine City, and caught a Krabby who we named, rather fittingly, Crab. On our way to Cyanwood City, we snagged a Tentacle and named him Tentacular, before readying ourselves for our battle with Chuck. We took down his gym trainers pretty easily thanks to Heracross and Golbat before challenging him directly, and well, Chuck kinda suck. At this point, Heracross had learned Aerial Ace, so the plan sort of made itself. Primate went down as intended, and whilst Poliwrath did almost smack my Weepinbell because I tried to stun Spore twice for no reason, Heracross came back and after a quick nap, sealed the deal. 5 down, baby. Onwards to Jasmine. Now, for some reason, I was really scared of Jasmine's Steelix, so I did a whole bunch of grinding before this fight. In hindsight, I'm not sure why, really. We went ahead and did the entire Red Gyarados side story to get the Red Scale so we could trade it with Mr. Pokemon for the experience share. We snagged a Mareep, a Girafarig, and a Poliwag along the way, of which we added Buki the Mareep to the party. Mareep replaced Tentacle, and the reason for this was because I had a momentary lapse in judgment. You see, for some reason, I didn't think Tentacle was weak to ground, and I sent him in against the Dugtrio. Yeah, not my proudest moment, that's for sure. Rest in peace, Tentacular, we hardly knew ye. Mareep quickly became a Fluffy, and then an Ampharos. Bonfire became a Typhlosion, Zamzazaban became a Crobat, and Susan became a Slowbro. Like I said, a lot of grinding. Far too much grinding. A cringe amount of grinding, really. Because Typhlosion kind of just rolled straight through Jasmine like she was nothing. Lesson learned. 6 badges down. Next step was to team up with my buddy Lance and overthrow an organised crime syndicate, which we did with relative ease. We rescued an Electrode from within their evil lair, named him Peppy Max, murdered his brethren, and it was time for gym number 7, the Ice-type gym. Typhlosion and Heracross were front and centre once more with a guest appearance from Ampharos to deal with a few water types. 3 brick breaks later and Pryce was on ice and we only had 1 gym remaining. Turns out crime never sleeps and we had to take a quick detour to Goldenrod to deal with those dastardly Team Rockets and save the director of the radio, or something like that. I don't really know. The Johto story ain't the best. But with that out of the way, we tried our hand at some gambling, sucked at it, and we were back on track. Onwards to Route 44. Powering through some uneventful battles and encounters, we made it through to Ice Path. We befriended a Swinub whom we named Oinker with the intention of adding it to the team. It was at this stage that I found out you can actually get Gen 4 evolutions before the end of the game, where previously I'd assumed they were all locked behind post-game. So with Oinker by our side, we got to grinding and smashing rocks to find ourselves a Heart Scale. He evolved into Piloswine, we taught him Ancient Power, and just like that, we had a Mamoswine for the Dragon-heavy endgame of Soul Silver. Oh, and we didn't have an encounter in Olivine City yet, so we also caught a Shuckle we found inside one of the smashed rocks, which we named... Anyway, with the team pretty evenly leveled this time round and not over-leveled, it was time to take on the final gym leader, Clair. Now, Clair is a little bit scary. Yes, we had our Mamoswine to take down dragon types quickly, but Clair had a few tricks of her own. She starts with Gyarados, who has Intimidate. Not a huge issue because our plan was to use Ampharos to take him down anyway. She also has 2 Dragonairs, which Oinker is here to deal with, but one of them does know Fire Blast, which could be potentially devastating if it was to connect. But the big thing that we were scared of was Kingdra. Kingdra is a water dragon type, which is an excellent typing because it means that in Gen 4, before the fairy type existed, its only weakness was dragon itself, which I didn't really have much access to. It also has the ability Sniper, which in Gen 4 makes critical hits do 3 times the normal damage instead of the usual 2 times modifier. This terrified me, because it meant it could essentially one-shot anything on my team if it landed a crit. and it was also holding a citrus berry, just making it even more durable and more likely to get off more attacks. But we had to take her on, so we jumped straight in. As planned, Ampharos took out Gyarados nicely, and Mamoswine took out the first Dragonair. Then she sent out Kingdra. The plan was to put it to sleep with Susan the Slowbro, as she had decent bulk and resisted water. For some reason, I didn't put Psychic on Susan for this fight. I don't know why, but we were not doing a whole lot of damage. The good news is that we put it to sleep, confused it, and triggered the Citrus Berry before it woke up. But when it did wake up, it was pissed. With a quick critical hit on a Dragon Pulse, Kingdra took out Susan in one fell swoop. Our 6th Pokemon of the run had fallen. Susan, you will be missed. But the show must go on. And at this point, there wasn't really a plan. It was either brute force or bust. We sent out Heracross, clicked close combat, and prayed. And sure enough, Kingdra fell. With a single Dragonair left, I pivoted into Shuckle, expecting her to die instantly in exchange for healing up Mamoswine, but she didn't. Not even close. So we healed Mamoswine, encored Dragonair into Dragon Pulse to avoid Fire Blast, and took it down. And Clair was defeated. 8 gyms down, none to go. And only the Pokemon League stood in our way now. As everyone knows, Clair is a little crybaby about the whole thing and runs off without handing over the badge, but we chase her down to claim our prize and snagged a very, very underleveled Dratini along the way. Unwilling to grind a level 5 Dratini with Johto's awful level curve at this stage of the Nuzlocke, we boxed it and got to work with some story stuff. We took on the Kimono Ladies and made our way to Whirl Islands, where we fought through roaring waves and pitch-black caves to come face to face with the Guardian of the Seas itself. Pretty sick. We geared ourselves for a grueling battle ahead with such a titan, stepped forward and promptly threw a Master Ball, named it Bazinga, and imprisoned it forever in the PC. I already had quite a strong team and didn't really want to use a legendary in the Nuzlocke, so we boxed Lugia and continued onwards. Now it was time to make our way to Victory Road. After a few average battles and even more average encounters, we entered the gateway. We had our badges checked and approved by the guard and stepped into the cave. We called ourselves an Ursaring as the last encounter of the run and prepared ourselves for our last challenge before facing the Elite Four and the champion. One last rival battle with P. Ginge. There wasn't a whole lot to this fight really. We used Heracross to take out Sneasel, Haunter and Magneton, and Ampharos to take out Golbat, Kadabra and Feraligatr. There was a bit of a dicey situation where Feraligatr landed a flinch on Waterfall, but otherwise things went entirely according to plan. You love to see it. As a quick side note, anybody who's still on team Johto is the best region is absolutely nuts. This is the final rival battle before the Elite Four, and his team isn't even fully evolved, nor are they even over level 40. The level curve and balancing in these games is a joke. With our rival battle out of the way, it was time to take on the Elite Four and the final challenge of the run. Sort of. You see, we weren't quite there with levels just yet since Lance is sitting on a level 50 Dragonite at the end of the Elite Four, so we had a bit of a grind ahead of us. Our squad heading into the Pokemon League would be Mamoswine, Heracross, Crobat, Typhlosion, Gyarados, and Ampharos. A pretty strong team, if I do say so myself, and the plan was as follows. Use Ampharos for the whole Will fight, Typhlosion, Mamoswine and Ampharos for the Koga fight, Crobat and Gyarados for Bruno, the whole squad for Karen, and then Mamoswine, Gyarados and Ampharos would seal the deal with Lance. So we got to grinding against level 30-something Pokemon in Victory Road, which was a nightmare, something, Johto level curve, something, and our Elite Four plan came to a very sad and very abrupt end when, well, I'll just roll the clip, eh? Or it's luckily all these rock types are half ground type as well, so we can just have a look. No! Yeah. That one sucked. I was really looking forward to using Mamoswine, as I said earlier, but Oinker was taken from us too soon. And it was entirely my fault. I was ignorant, naive. But no more. No more tragic mistakes. No more failures. We were going to finish this thing. So just like that, we had a spare space in our team. I wanted to continue the trend of using an ice type I've never used before, so it was decided to bring in a seal I had caught a while back to evolve her into a dugong to bring along with us to fill a similar niche to Mamoswine, albeit considerably less effectively. So, with grinding down, we finished off the last touches such as getting a few held items and berries and burning our Heracross to activate guts, and we were ready to roll. We approached the Pokemon League, stepped through the threshold and locked eyes with our first opponent, Will. Will's team consists of a Xatu, Jinx, Exeggutor, Slowbro, and another Xatu, because why would he have an Espeon? Or a Slowking? Or a Girafarig? That would just be silly. Unaffected by the loss of Mamoswine, the plan remained the same. Send out Ampharos to deal with Will's entire team, because all of his members are weak to either Electric or Bug, and Ampharos was armed with Discharge and Signal Beam. As planned, Ampharos took down each and every member of Will's team with very little resistance. One down. It was going well. Perhaps a little too well. Next up was Koga, whose team is Ariados, Venomoth, Fortress, who isn't even a poison type, but I've given up on Johto at this point, Muck, and Crobat for the ace. And without Mamoswine, the plan was not quite as clear-cut. Luckily for me, 3 of his Pokemon are bug types, so Typhlosion made pretty quick work of Ariados, Fortress, and Venomoth. Then came Muck. Without Mamoswine, there wasn't really a plan aside from just kind of brute forcing it. And it turns out Muck is pretty bulky. I didn't realize at the time, but with base stats of 105 in HP and 100 in special defense, it took a flamethrower pretty easily and hit back with its own gunk shot, which Typhlosion was actually dead to if it had crit. After the black sludge heal that Muck has, Flamethrower was arranged to kill, I think, on the following turn, but at this stage I was too attached to my starter to risk losing him even at the final stage of the run. I switched in the Crobat to resist the gunk shot and hit it with some more effective physical attacks. A fly and a bite later and Muck went down. We switched back into Ampharos for a quick kill on Crobat and we had defeated Koga. A little bit dicier than Will, but no losses yet. 2 down. On to Bruno. Bruno's team is a little more intimidating and consists of Onix, not Steelix for some reason, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Hitmontop, and Machamp. The battle began with the Crobat into Hitmontop for a quick KO with Fly, and Gyarados promptly took out Onix. The Intimidate adding insult to injury with Onix's already pathetic attack stat. We risked Crobat into Hitmonchan, who was rocking both Thunder and Ice Punch with Iron Fist as its ability, but all was good since Crobat is so fast. Then came in the Machamp. I planned to use Crobat's Fly to quickly KO it, as with the other fighting types, but somehow, with all the planning that took place, I had managed to miss the ability that Machamp has. And the ability is No Guard. This ability makes all moves used by or against the Pokemon guaranteed to hit, regardless of whether or not the Pokemon is in the middle of a move like Dig or, in our case, Fly. So we used Fly, and Machamp used Rock Slide into our poor Crobat. And to our surprise, we actually survived it. Barely, but we did, and we managed to take out Machamp with no losses either. We finished up the Bruno fight by brute forcing Hitmonlee with Gyarados so Crobat didn't accidentally die, and just like that we were 3-0 against the Pokemon League, and we were ready to battle the final Elite Four member, Karen. We were on a roll, and I didn't want to lose that momentum, so we charged headfirst into the final battle before the champion. Karen is a Dark-type specialist, and her team consists of Umbreon, Murkrow, Houndoom, Vileplume, and Gengar. I'm not even going to comment. This was honestly probably the battle we were best prepared for. So with her starting with Umbreon, a quick Brick Break from our Guts boosted Heracross made quick work of it, followed by Ampharos taking out Murkrow without any issues. Gyarados was our counter to Houndoom, and whilst it did manage to get some decent damage in with Dark Pulse, followed by a flinch, it opted for Nasty Plot on its second turn and was promptly OHKO'd by Waterfall. Vileplume would fall to Typhlosion's Flamethrower, and last but not least, Gengar was taken out by a critical hit from our Heracross's Night Slash. We'd done it. We'd beaten the Elite Four. 8 gym leaders, 4 Pokemon League members, and 1 Pokemon League champion to go. It was time to take on the Dragon Master, Lance. The original plan was to use a greater team variety, including Mamoswine, Ampharos, and Gyarados. But after Mamoswine's untimely demise, and me really not wanting to lose the run at this stage, I decided to go a little bit more, how should I say it, cringe with my game plan. You see, Gyarados is a pretty ridiculously good Pokemon, especially in Nuzlocke. So good, in fact, that some folks straight up ban it from their Nuzlocke. And well, let's just say that now I see why. At this point, our Gyarados' move pool looked a little bit like this, and it so happens that Lance's first Pokemon is also a Gyarados. Lance's Gyarados doesn't really have a way to deal with Gyarados. So, with a small amount of shame in my eyes, it was time to set up on Lance. We clicked Dragon Dance once, twice, 3 times, and well... We had done it. We defeated the champion. I could finally leave the cursed level curve and overabundance of Kanto Pokemon that the Johto region provides behind. I'd completed my first Nuzlocke, and whilst it wasn't a hardcore Nuzlocke by any means, it still felt good. There's folks out there that will tell me a Soul Silver Nuzlocke isn't really over until you beat Red, but frankly, I just wasn't up for the grind required to match the level of Red's team. It was fun, and I learned a lot from the experience. In retrospect, it was a little easy, honestly, and I think a Nuzlocke actually needs more of a challenge to it, so I certainly understand why some people do hardcore Nuzlockes now that I've completed my own one. This was super fun, and I'll absolutely step it up when I do another one in the future. In fact, I might be in the midst of one right now over on Twitch. I aim to stream around 4 PM on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, check it out. Yeah. Shameless plugs aside, I hope you enjoyed the journey as much as I did. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch all you folks on the next one. See you later.